Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for dropping in. Happy weekend, by the way, if you guys are watching on the weekend. In today's video, we're going to talk about a couple prevalent issues and complaints that are going on in the game right now. I'm going to give my quick fire hot take on them and maybe some solutions. Generally on this channel, I don't really make dedicated videos just for the sake of complaining. Personally, I like Raid Shadow Legends. I play this game actively every day. And you know, that's kind of like my free-to-play habit kicking in. Basically, I play every day. I do my dailies every day. You know, I play 2 accounts basically regularly. I don't miss fusions, all that stuff. So I'm very involved in the game, and I can give you guys like my active player experience about everything. But I generally like the game. So I don't have too many things to complain about, but I feel like these are general sweeping player-based population type of complaints that probably need to be addressed sometime in the near future rather than in the late future. So let's jump right into it, and we'll see how our thoughts shake out. All right, guys. So number one, we're talking about silver. So silver is probably the ever complaint since forever, right? People have complained about silver since forever. There's no real solution to it that Plarium has ever offered to us. The closest that they've ever offered to us was basically the free gear removal event that happened once every 3 or 4 months. And now they're doing it once every month, which is great. That's progress, right? But that's basically it. They haven't really given us any kind of upgrades or updates for silver generation. Like we're getting 55, like we gotten a boost on this 20k and 55k. I believe these were lower values in the past, but honestly guys, like 20k is 55k, like that's nothing. If you guys are seeing promo codes with 100k silver, that's absolutely nothing. That's nothing. That's might as well be nothing. Look at this, 5,000 silver, who cares? That's nothing. 200k for a month. This is a 1-month quest. Who cares? This is nothing. This should be a daily quest, to be honest. Like these amounts should be daily amounts. This login amount should have a 0 here. That would actually help someone. 550k. They need to 10x the silver given to people, especially new players. New players really, I mean, honestly, the silver complaint extends from new all the way to endgame. People cannot find ways to keep their silver up for the most part. For me, like I have 1 billion silver on both my accounts. And I think it's just a tendency for myself of how I play the game. I don't generally swap gear very often because the champions I build are basically made to handle whatever content I throw at them. So if I have an arena champion, that champion will be good in all content, unless I have a very specific reason to gear them out for something like, for example, like a regen set, but then there must be a better option. Okay, so usually when I gear out champions, their gear set is basically set because that's the best build they can possibly have with my entire gear inventory. And I won't update them until something basically replaces them, or new content comes out, or it might be 6 months in the future where I accumulate more gear, for example, or I pick up an upgrade that I know might shake up their build. Then I will replace them. But generally I don't do anything like that. And like I said, I play super actively, so I accumulate silver constantly. And if I'm not sinking silver in constantly, then I will be net positive for silver. But that doesn't mean that I don't upgrade gear. Most of the gear in my account is level 12 or up. Half my gear is level 16. And I have like full inventories of gear, many champions geared out. So for me, silver is never an issue. It has not been an issue for like over 2.5 years. After the first year, after my first 100 million silver, after my first clan boss, Ultra Nightmare clan boss team, I was basically all set. I never really had to worry about silver again. The other issue that nobody really talks about is actually the dungeons. Plarium is pushing us towards the endgame players to farm more Sandel's Necropolis and more Shogun's Grove because the generic dungeon gear is being phased out by obviously pay-to-win sets or sets in more hardcore content like Hydra Clash, Centrano City, crafted sets for Doom Tower and so forth. So the generic sets from the normal dungeons are being phased out slowly, especially for endgame or late game players. So they're pushing us towards these 2 dungeons. But the thing with these 2 dungeons is that they don't offer as much silver as these 4 original dungeons because they don't offer you gear. the gear you sell makes up about 70-80% of 90% of the silver that you make from grinding these dungeons. So imagine yourself doing these dungeons exclusively, and then you're basically losing out on 80 to 90% of the total silver gain that you would have had by grinding these dungeons out, for example, 2 years ago. So this doesn't really get talked about too often because it's more of an end game issue. But if you focus all your energy on these two dungeons, you're going to see a significant silver loss, or the lack of silver coming in, more accurately. So, I don't know what exactly needs to be fixed. I mean, they could give us more silver as a reward for completing each level to offset the missing gear that we would sell otherwise for silver. But it's just another thing. I don't know if they intended this. That's the other thing too, for Plarium actually to intend this, or this is just a byproduct of lazy thinking, right? Maybe they just said, oh, okay, it's a dungeon, let's keep the silver rewards the same. Oh, they just happen not to get dungeon gear. Oh, their silver cost is just lower. Oh, that works out pretty well for us. But I don't know if that was intended on their part, but it's definitely going to work against the end game population. Another thought I have is basically like incorporate silver in basically everything you kind of do, right, in this game. That there's a lot of things in this game that you currently do that don't really give silver. So for example, faction wars, arena, basically everything like Doom Tower, everything should give you some level of silver. If they don't want to boost the value of silver that they're giving us, give us more ways of getting silver. So reward people for doing arena, right? Reward people who are doing classic arena, live arena, tag team arena. Give them some silver for their trouble. At least make it a way for them to at least accumulate more silver. For example, faction wars, anything in this game should give you back some silver. That's at least my thought. There's no reason why something like faction wars doesn't give you silver as well, because this is a limited thing, right? You can't, farm this like crazy every day. So you're not even getting that much silver at the end of the day. Why not give us some silver? Arena, same thing, right? If you won't have too many tokens unless you're a big spender, in which case you're not getting back much value anyways from silver, and you have to basically do tons and tons of fights just to get that silver. I mean, we're not talking like 100k silver per win. I'm talking like, whatever they're probably going to give us, which is like 10k per win, but it's something, right? It's something, and it's definitely going to be helpful for early game players, exponentially more than probably late game players. And yeah, they did mention that they're going to be offering some kind of gear removal, maybe some kind of item that we can pick up that might give us maybe like a day of free gear removal, similar to how we have XP boost. That's my thinking. That would be kind of cool. I mean, it gives us kind of like an ad hoc kind of like day where we can basically, do a big gear swap, maybe build a new team. And it's going to save you guys a lot of silver. It's going to, be a net positive in terms of silver for your accounts, at least a couple million if you're making a whole team. So that's a good little bonus there. So I'm looking forward to that. Moving on to the next issue that I have in line, and it's basically going to be revolving around arena. So this might not be, fully impactful for everybody, but I think for the general population, I think most people will agree that this champion, Armans, is incredibly powerful. But is that bad for the game? That's the big question. I've been hearing a lot of things about Armans being too powerful, especially for arena, whatever. He's a pain to play against, whatever. All that stuff, right? And those are valid. He is incredibly powerful. He's a fusion champion, which was awesome because there's a couple things that are awesome about that. One, everybody gets him. Well, not everybody. Sorry, I take that back. I take that back because some people will get upset that I say everybody gets him. Everyone had the opportunity to get him, whether it was paying for resources and getting him, in which case you kind of knew the outcome, right? You knew what you had to pay, and you knew that the champion is at the end of paying for him, as opposed to just gambling for shards and then hoping for him. Or if you had the resources saved up and was able to do fusion, then you would get this champion. Great. He's super powerful, very good in arena. Actually, he's very good in all wave-based content. That's actually the thing that also makes him incredibly valuable just for players that don't even care about live arena or arena in general, is that he's really good in waves. And there's some really, intense wave content that yield rewards, like obviously Doom Tower. If you can do Doom Tower, you can do it with Armans. Armans will carry you through Doom Tower. If you're still going through dungeons, Armans will carry you through dungeons. But is he bad for the game? Is he bad for the game? Well, personally, I think he's not bad for the game because most people would have ended up getting him. Most people would have ended up getting him, including obviously the hyper top tier of arena. The fact that Armans is available to regular players, most players, gives those players a opportunity to play against accounts that are much stronger than them. Basically, in this game, if you equate money to power to basically unbeatableness, then this game would obviously go to the biggest spenders, because the level of skill in this game, I think it can be offset in multiple places, right? So if you're the biggest spender with the best gear, best champions, and you're going up against somebody else that is less of a spender with less champions or whatever, usually the better champions, better gear will win most of the time. But a champion like Armans gives a percentage for players that are completely out of that tier to be able to, hold a candle against those types of better accounts. It doesn't mean that Armans is going to win those fights. No, I'm definitely not. But your odds are no longer zero, because at some point you're going to be fighting against people with accounts that basically give you zero chance of winning. But Armans is a champion strong enough that will give you some percentage chance of winning against those rosters. And in this case, he is good for most of the players. Of course, players at the very top will complain about this type of champion because this removes their 100% win rate, and it's going to remove it and lower it to like 98% win rate. But a champion like this gives those other accounts some opportunity against those better accounts. And I think as a whole, he does benefit the whole of the population that have him because he's incredibly good in PvE content as well. And he probably opens up some arena options for a lot of people as well. So overall, I think Armans and his power level is good, mainly because he was given to everybody. Similar in the way that our Narcissus was available to everyone as a guarantee, right? So he's not like a random hope comes out of a shard. That's what I mean when I say available to everyone. He was available to everyone. And Narcissus has he was incredible for meta changing the arena especially. And he's just a general good nuker, right? He's a void nuker as well. But his meta changing ability was very big because he's basically like a check against shield champions now with his AoE hit that does double hit against shields. So he's incredibly strong that way. And I feel like Narcissus basically offering a champion of that power level, offering him, I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing so that more people have this kind of power. It's still going to move the middle player base together, kind of. So these people will have the same middle progression in, like, for example, PvP, but they will still have an extra couple percent chance boost against those better accounts that they'll be fighting against in PvP. And I think overall that's a good thing, to give more tools to more people so that they have a chance against some unwinnable situations. All right, so you can't talk about Armans without talking about Polymorph. So Polymorph obviously is a big issue for arena, live arena, whatever, PvP, right? The strength of this blessing is incredibly strong. The effects of it are incredibly punishing. And is it a bad thing, right? Is it a bad thing for arena? Personally, it is a bit strong. It is a bit strong. When you become a sheep, you lose your speed, you lose your turn meter. It's a little bit too much, right? It's maybe maintain the speed. It needs a little bit of a tweak, but I think the idea of it is probably good for most people in arena, because unless you are in the top you know, 100 spenders in the whole game, you probably need sheep to have a chance against some of these accounts. Basically, sheep gives you an element of RNG, gives your team an element of RNG to beat some of these unbeatable matchups, which is good because now in, you know, the very top of arena, it's not just, you know, the top 10, top 20 spenders in the whole game duking out against each other. Now that's kind of expanded to maybe the top 200 players, because those extra players beyond the top 200 have a chance to win against the top players. Basically what I'm saying is that an element of RNG helps players that are completely outmatched and gives them a percentage chance to play against the best of the best. This is good, obviously, for everybody outside of the top of the top. I mean the top of the top, where they basically have a 100% win rate against anybody below them. But yeah, so elements like this is good. It's needed. If games like this don't have elements of RNG, it's basically playing chess. If chess had no element of RNG, sorry, chess has no element of RNG. That's why it's a skill-based, total skill-based game. And for example, we'll use Texas Hold'em, right? Like poker or whatever. Poker is a skill-based game, but there's elements of RNG. That's why it is appealing to masses of people, because somebody that has basically no chance of beating somebody else now has an element of RNG on their side, and they can beat the best of the best where they otherwise would have no chance of winning, such as chess, for example. So is it a bad thing? I don't think it necessarily is a bad thing. I think it could use a small tweak because it is overly punishing. So maybe if you maintain like the speed of the sheep, speed of your champion as a sheep, that might be useful. So it'll let you come out of the sheep phase a little bit faster. I think that would be a reasonable update, or maybe, yeah, that would be the one that makes the most sense to me. Or you could come back with more HP or full HP, for example. That could be something as well. But there's a lot of punishing aspects about sheep right now, and I can feel the reasons why the complaints are pretty heavy against this. And obviously people don't like to lose against RNG. It feels kind of bad. But you have to understand that the RNG goes your way and it goes, you know, the other way as well, or it should. So, you know, we have to focus on not only our negative RNG, but obviously on our positive RNG as well. So honestly, I don't feel it's a crazy bad thing, but it definitely needs to be addressed in some way. All right, next mega complaint. I think this is probably the biggest complaint against, like, in this type of content, and it's basically Hydra Clash and the prevalent issue that is Yumiko with Trunda. So you can kind of see here, like, you know, Ziggy has like one of the craziest accounts in the whole game, right? And then you have Doc here, also one of the craziest accounts. And then unfortunately we're playing against IPR, which is one of the craziest Hydra Clash clans. So this is a perfect example here. But you can kind of see what we're kind of dealing with here, right? Double Yumiko with Trunda just blasting the Hydra for obscene amounts of numbers. I mean, something needs to be done. Like, it's not rocket science that this is an issue. And I think for most players that do Hydra Clash, they will never ever run into this issue. That's the thing. You will probably never see a Trunda Yumiko team absolutely obliterate your clan. But I don't think this issue is something that people can say, oh, it's not going to happen to me, therefore it's not an issue. Because it's clearly an issue. When a team like this basically does 1,000 times more damage than a generic team without this combo. And the issue here is obviously Trunda. Trunda has been broken for, you know, 4 or 5 years or whatever. They never addressed it. Trunda used to be the best DPS in Arena as well, due to this level of bustedness on her A2. Basically her A2 does some scaling that doesn't make any sense and only really applies to her. Hold on, let me... Trunda or A2. The second hit is the issue. The second hit deals obscene amounts of damage, It's the scaling that it doesn't make sense on her, and it needs to be adjusted. But it should have been adjusted many years ago. Plarium did not do anything, sat on their hands, and now we have the problem here today where their design of future content is being compromised by this champion. So yeah, Trunda needs to be fixed. I don't know what they want to do with her. I mean, obviously you fix this move and then she's basically not as insane anymore. I mean, it would just completely cripple those numbers, but she'd still be a good champion, but it's clear that she is not working as intended. And then the second champion here, of course, is Yumiko. She has the Dance of Time, which can reset herself. That's why having two of them basically resetting each other, resetting, and then you're resetting everybody's ability on your whole team, makes this ability incredibly unique, and it's unique to her. So that's why she's like insane in this way. This needs to be addressed. I don't know if it's actually intended so that she can reset her own, because Kaimar can't reset his own ability. But this needs to be addressed because Yumiko will always be a problem with this issue in all content that they release, because she will always have the ability to reset each other, basically enabling certain combinations of madness to happen in any content that she's going to be in. So unless Plarium address one, the Trunda issue, and Yumiko together, their future content will be compromised. That's the thing. They are restricted in their design of future content, future champions, because of these interactions with these champions. Trunda is even slightly less of an issue because Trunda is incredibly effective here in Hydra, but her effectiveness in other areas is not as crazy. But if you fix Yumiko and left Trunda in her current state, I guarantee you Trunda will still be doing insane amounts of damage in Hydra. It'll just be another way of resetting abilities. Maybe the numbers will come down, but Trunda is still an obvious issue, dealing obscene amounts of damage. And Yumiko has an obvious, unique interaction that is hindering future design. That's the big thing. Obviously, it's making Hydra Clash ridiculously, one-sided right now, but it's also hindering future design, and that's a big thing, right? Like every time you design a new piece of content, you gotta think, oh, will Yumiko mess this up? And then you have to design your content around Yumiko. That doesn't make any damn sense, right? So why do you not fix this now? I know why. Is because obviously a lot of people wailed out for these champions. They'll be incredibly upset with any kind of nerf or negative effect to them. Hey man, I have Trunda myself. I've wailed shards for Yumiko as well. So I'm like, obviously have some investment in these champions as well, but it's obvious that these champions have issues. It's obvious. And even if you don't see them in Hydra Clash yourself, it's obvious that there is some issues with these champions, and Plarium needs to do something and not sit on their hands on this, because it's going to bite them in the butt again in the future. Lastly, the last thing I want to talk about in this game that is kind of a complaint against for basically everybody in the game is probably just time. How much time we spend in the game, right? We spend tons and tons of time in this game. You can spend tons of time in this game, but even just doing like your normal dailies, it takes a lot of time. And especially when you factor in things like Hydra Clash, which can take hours and hours and hours, it's an obscene amount of time. For me, I'm lucky because I actually have a one key clan boss team, which saves me hours a day, basically, because in the past you would just run clan boss, normally, and it'll take like half an hour or whatever, 20 minutes. And, if you do 3 keys a day, that's still like 45 to an hour a day you got to spend on this. Imagine if you're on mobile, you got to let your phone heat up for an hour just to do 3 keys. It's kind of ridiculous, right? So I'm glad that Plarium implemented the 1 key instant key that saves a ton of time. They need to do that for Hydra. So they need to give some kind of system where we can basically just say, hey, forget it. I'm going to throw my key into Hydra, and I don't care what the outcome is. Give me the instant key. Instead of basically leaving your phone on if you're mobile, letting your Hydra team run, and then having the key. So, for example, they could implement something similar to Clan Boss. Give us the 1 key instant key and then just leave us with whatever damage is there. The other thing that they could do that is a little bit maybe more catered towards more serious players, I guess, would be to have keys that you can kind of recycle. So basically put the key in and then have the option to accept the key, take the damage, for example, and then or rerun the key, or maybe put a cooldown on doing that. Maybe put like a 6-hour cooldown on how many keys you can run. I would totally be up for that, because you only need to run the Hydra keys once a week. So give the player the option to run the key instantly, and if the damage result is not favorable, put it on a cooldown, put it on a 6-hour cooldown, let the person come back the next day and try to run the instant key again. This would honestly save so much dang time, like hours. This would save hours. Even if you were just farting around in Hydra, didn't know anything, it would still save you an hour at least. The other thing is, they've done a good job with the Doom Tower, with the auto Doom Tower. The other thing is Centranos. Maybe they can let us chart a path. Maybe let us select the stages that we want to complete in that order, and then let the game auto select your top champions, and then just let it run. So you can walk away. You can literally AFK, right? So that would be ideal, just to save some time, because sometimes you don't need to, obviously manual select your champions just to do Central City. Faction Wars. I think Faction Wars, for the most part, if you clear 21, I think these should just be like auto instant complete at this point. There's no real point in trying to do these every time, especially if your champions are geared for it. So I say just set them up just like Clan Boss. Just save those minutes. Save those minutes every day, guys. So Plarium definitely can do that. They've already been doing the double super raids. That's good. How about super raids for Minotaur? How about updating this from level 15 to 25? How about doing, like, do something with this stupid dungeon? Like, yes, you don't want to do it because you want us to pay 800 gems for our damn masteries, but just do this. Make this 25. Make it a little bit faster for people to get our damn scrolls. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Why is the Arcane Keep 20? Make this 25. Make these drops, drop them, make them drop more. Why are there brews coming out of level 20 dungeons in Arcane Keep if you need to farm potions? Don't say you guys never farm potions, because since Centralis have dropped, I've been farming potions because I've been running out after leveling and ascending all my gear, all my champions, just to do Centranos. So, these are like some things that would just help out time in the game. Obviously I'm ranting on a little bit, but yeah, these are the biggest complaints I feel, and obviously mass encompassing of all the player population. So I think most of you guys will feel some of the heat here. There's obviously more smaller complaints I can think about, but I'm just going to leave that as the big main topics in this video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Is there other serious complaints that should be addressed immediately in this game, or that you feel we should talk about a little bit more? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, of course, and I'll see you guys in the next video.